Good morning, and thank you so much for inviting me to speak with you today. My husband and I are parents to a senior in high school in Roanoke County. I can't believe this year's already here. When he was born, it occurred to me that one day I'd care about what happened in school board meetings. I had no idea how much I'd care and how much I'd come to focus, not just on local education issues, but on state and national education issues as well. So often in life, we find a purpose, or a purpose finds us. That's the case with me and my care for the health, safety, education, and well-being of children. A purpose found me. When our son started kindergarten, I was asked to hang up race cars in his school for a reading incentive program. I was glad to help, and saying yes to that request changed the trajectory of my life for the next 13 years. In the first grade hallway at Green Valley Elementary, my heart began to fill with care and appreciation. From the classrooms drifted the voices of teachers, speaking kindly to their students, imparting lessons, information, and wisdom to them. I heard the children speak with their teachers and with one another during the school day, and I was so impressed with their learning and awed by their sweetness. Once I saw all of this care and hard work, I could never unsee it. I could never not care about the people, big and small, who worked and learned in that school. I was asked to be the PTA president at the school, and because I was in the school building almost every day, I started to form relationships with the teachers and staff. I began to see they were overworked and underpaid. I saw how stressed out everyone was about standardized testing. I saw this as an injustice. Here we were entrusting our precious children and their educations to these professionals, and they weren't being properly compensated for their hard work, and too much of their time was taken up with testing, not teaching. The following year, I had the opportunity to speak with President Obama's Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, and gubernatorial candidates Terry McAuliffe and Ken Cuccinelli on school funding, high-stakes testing, and public school privatization. I quickly came to realize I could use my platform and voice to raise up others' voices of care and concern in K-12 education, and I started to feel I had an obligation to do so. I look back on those days somewhat wistfully because lack of funding and too much testing were issues parents largely agreed on. Now it seems there are forces trying to divide us, and that really worries me. For the past 13 years, I've been a proponent of having the parent voice heard in education policymaking. At my request, the Roanoke County Public Schools Parent Advisory Council was formed, and I was its chair its inaugural year. It consists of a parent representative from each of the county's public schools, and it allows the school system to consult with parents, and it gives parents at each school the opportunity to get information and weigh in on policies and initiatives. I think of our children's educations like a four-legged stool. Teachers teach, students learn, parents and caregivers support, and government funds. If one of the legs of the stool is wobbly or broken, the student's education can suffer. I like the idea of all of us working together to create positive outcomes for kids. Now we're hearing a lot about parents' rights. I believe parents are the experts when it comes to their own children, and we should listen to their voices. Absolutely, parents have rights, but children also have rights when it comes to their educations. Civil rights hero James Meredith and author William Doyle helped create a Child's Bill of Educational Rights with other child and education advocates some years ago now, and it offers an excellent foundation for us to support and build upon. Here's an abridged version for us to consider. Children have a right to excellent learning opportunities, play-based early education, licensed, certified teachers, small class sizes that help ensure individual attention, research-based, evidence-based, developmentally appropriate instruction, and high-quality assessments, a rich curriculum that includes music and the arts, effective and inclusive special education and English language learner services, wraparound supports including nutritious meals and health and wellness services, a fully stocked school library with a full-time librarian, school buildings that are safe and inspiring places to learn in, recess, physical activity, and brain breaks throughout the day, a developmentally appropriate homework policy that acknowledges students' individual home lives, human, caring teachers versus an over-reliance on computer-based learning. Care for not just their academic success, but also their mental well-being. The ability to be children and be allowed to learn from their mistakes. Educators and staff experienced in delivering instruction and services to children with high needs, including those whose families struggle financially. Schools that provide equity of educational resources to students based upon their individual needs, teachers that are respected as the educated professionals they are, teachers that are allowed to do their jobs, preparing their students for the next steps in their lives. Finally, they have the right to cultivate their interests and become lovers of learning. What if we focused in earnest on those child-centered rights and worked together to make them a reality for all children? I believe we'd see remarkable results. Educating children helps broaden their understanding of the world around them. That world includes people who look, believe, act, and live differently than they do. Schools should be a safe place for kids to try to better understand one another and expand their horizons. No one becomes a wiser or more caring or responsible person living or learning in a bubble where only the familiar is permitted to be seen or experienced. While some adults are going back and forth about what kids should be exposed to in school, the kids are largely forging their own paths in life. So many of them are embracing their own uniqueness and are accepting of their peers. It's so healthy for children to be in touch with themselves and their feelings. It's important they're allowed to be their true selves and for the adults in their lives to give them grace and unconditional love. We simply can't allow the voices of those who have been historically marginalized and silenced to continue to go unheard. Those who want this to continue sadly exhibit their fear of those they view as other. By denying the existence of other people's lives and stories, they don't have to feel their pain or care about them. They don't have to act on their behalf or change their way of thinking. While that may be an easier or more convenient way to live, it doesn't allow for personal or spiritual growth, and it actually causes harm to people. We must really be aware of who is writing the narrative when it comes to children's educations. Did you know that from mid-March to June of 2021, a prominent national news media outlet reported on critical race theory, or CRT, 1,300 times in 1.5 months? The American Bar Association describes CRT as a critique on how the social construction of race and institutionalized racism perpetuates a racial caste system. The theory is included in some higher education law school classes and is not included in K-12 curriculum, but unfounded hysteria around it has ensued nonetheless. Christopher Rufo, a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute think tank, has been at the center of the furor, claiming critical race theory in K-12 education is hidden, quote, under a series of euphemisms such as equity, social justice, diversity and inclusion, and socially responsive teaching. He's wrong about that, but sadly some believe him, and state and local leaders have recently created laws and policies that forbid those topics in public schools. Additionally, we're seeing books removed from the school libraries and teachers being wrongly accused of indoctrinating their students with Marxist ideologies. What we're seeing is an attempt to whitewash history and marginalize people, including students, who identify as LGBTQ+. As a matter of fact, Mr. Rufo is taking the strategies he used in promoting his anti-CRT rhetoric and applying them to what he's calling gender ideology in K-12 schools. His goal is to, quote, publish one story a week for 6 weeks, establishing the frame, driving multiple news cycles, and generating 500 million media impressions. He told people to, quote, get ready to rumble. He's once again counting on the mass repetition of falsehoods to sway the nation towards his preferred direction of thinking. So it's really essential for us to put on our critical thinking caps and look to various sources for our information when it comes to K-12 education. We can't allow our minds to fall prey to what psychologists refer to as the truth effect. Is what we're hearing really plausible, or have we just heard it so often we believe it's true? Educating children will never be an exact science. After all, children are individuals with their own strengths, weaknesses, interests, abilities, and motivations. The question of how we can best address their individual needs is one we should always keep top of mind. While corporate and other interests try to sell us on the next big shiny thing in education, students are best served when we focus on the proven education reforms. Small class sizes, full and fair funding, certified, experienced teachers, well-rounded curriculum, and parent and caregiver engagement. So often, our schools are the hubs and hearts of our communities, and we can show support for them by getting involved in various ways. This not only helps the schools and the people who learn and work in them, it provides us with a greater insight into what happens within them. While I've mentioned parents here today quite a bit, we can and should interchange that word with caregivers, thereby including anyone who cares for and about children. All are invited to get involved in their local schools and with education issues. Here are a few ideas. Volunteer to share your personal or professional skill sets or specific talents with students. Volunteer in an event or serve on a committee or advisory board. Donate supplies or contribute to a scholarship. Tutor or mentor students. Help beautify the school grounds. If you have questions about what's being taught or what's happening in a school system, go ahead and reach out directly to a specific teacher or principal or to the school system superintendent. In my experience locally, they're very responsive to queries and are able to readily provide helpful information. If you have questions or concerns about school board policies, contact the school board. They're typically very willing to listen and share information and insights. You can also address them at one of their public meetings if you'd like to. If you're wondering about local funding for schools or school building and campus improvements, your city council or board of supervisors members may be the best ones to contact. They also hold public meetings where they hear from citizens. If there are questions, education or child-related issues coming from the state level that you have questions or concerns about, you can go to Virginia's General Assembly website and find the contact information for your locality's state representative. They or their aide will at least listen, and they'll usually tally up the number of people who contacted them in support of or in opposition to an existing or proposed law. Similarly, you can do this at the national level of government. If you have good ideas to share with any of these school system leaders or elected officials, you may well be a catalyst for positive changes in education. Another way of advocating and sharing information is by writing an op-ed or a letter to the editor of your local newspaper. I know time and money are big factors as to whether folks are able to make donations or volunteer or write emails and make phone calls. My mom was a single parent of 4 girls and worked as an RN in a veterans hospital. She gave everything she had to us girls and to her patients. She couldn't eke out another minute or dollar when it came to our schools. What she could and did do was she expressed a genuine interest in our lives and our well-being. Truly the best way to ensure student success is for parents or caregivers to be engaged in their students' education. That means regularly checking their backpack or online school access portal, communicating with their teachers, and talking with their students about school and the importance of their education and their future. Not only will these things help with their success in school, according to a study out of the University of New Hampshire, it's also the equivalent of $1,000 in yearly per pupil funding. One of the biggest things we can do is just listen to the children in our lives. What's going on with them? What are they happy or worried about? Do they need our help, or do they just want us to provide a listening, non-judgmental ear? While some don't have kids or they have adult children now, we all benefit from an educated, responsible populace. I think we all want the people we're entrusting the future with to have all of the support and resources they need and deserve as children, so they go into happy, healthy, caring, self-sufficient adults. Many years ago now, I was fortunate to hear the spiritual teacher Ram Dass speak on my college campus. He shared with us the need to walk one another home. He wanted us to know ourselves at a deeper level and care about one another. I remember his words having a profound impact on me and actually teared up when the event ended and James Taylor's Shower the People began playing in the auditorium. I believe in the common good. I believe investing in children's educations is in everyone's best interests. I believe in working together to help create a better, more just world for them to live in. I believe every one of them is deserving of love and care, and I bet you do too. And I'm beyond grateful for that. Thank you all so much.